Hello and welcome to our podcast today on Mars and Venus and what they're up to. So this is going to be a synthesis of gene keys, human design and astrology, allowing us a kind of unique insight into what's happening with this really interesting cycle of Venus. It's called the meta-goddess cycle in Capricorn. So I want to welcome Katreni, my lovely friend and colleague, who's a human design analyst from Moscow. And I'm Alison and I'm Goddess Asteroid Astrologer. So we're going to merge our minds and hearts in this time ahead. Okay, so where we begin today is that Mars and Venus are traveling together in gene key 38, which is called the Warrior of Life. And this is the shadow of struggle and the gift of perseverance. And the city of honor. I really love this gene key, and it feels so key to Venus's cycle. So Venus did her 40 days retrograde, and she went all through these gene keys in Capricorn, and now she's going forward again. So just to say, what these gene keys that cover Capricorn are gene key 10, which is all about beingness and naturalness. Gene key 58, which is a very, it feels a very sensual gene key, and is linked in with the body. Gene key 38, the warrior of life, light, I just talked about. 54, so this one is all about greed, aspiration and ascension, and this is the main Venus imprint for the next 18 months, is working with this differentiation between kind of survival greed and aspiration for a higher, group intention. And then we have 61. This is all about from psychosis to sanctity. So again, it feels connected to the nurturing of the body. And then gene key 60, which is also where Pluto is right now, so very activated. And 60 is about divine justice. And it's about the shadow of restriction. It's called the cracking of the vessel. So it's very important for our time now because so much is changing. So what can Venus and Mars kind of tell us about this? Well, the fact they're kind of traveling together immediately says that this cycle of Venus is connected with the masculine energy as well. I'm just going to pull up a chart. So just to say, the Venus Mars conjunction becomes exact on Valentine's Day, so that's rather lovely. And it goes all the way through to the 28th of February. But the day I've picked out is the 27th of February, because this is a really amazing what's happening that day. And we have Venus and Mars, the moon and Vesta all conjunct that day. And this is actually the first portal in Venus's descent as morning star. She mirrors the myth of Inanna's descent into the underworld. So at this first gate, Venus Inanna relinquishes her crown in order to go into the underworld. So in other words, she is relinquishing her some of her worldly power in order to go and meet her dark sister or her shadow self, who's called Ereshkigal. So Mars is going with her. So I think this cycle ahead, you know, this kind of working with our inner feminine masculine is going to become even more pronounced. And I love to kind of look at that from the point of view of the hexagrams. And then we have Vesta there. So Vesta's the priestess archetype. But in relationship, if we look at her in relationships, she's about kind of staying in our inner authority and about our kind of first love being the beloved. So whether we're with someone or not, if we make our first love the beloved or the higher self, the guru within, whatever terminology you want to use, this is what Vesta is encouraging us to do. And when we do that, it kind of helps us stay out of codependent patterns. So this is all happening at 61 line 4. So this imprinting of sanctity feels important there. So that's kind of a bit of an outline from an astrological point of view. Just to mention that we're still in this thing called the Kala Sarpa Yoga, where you can see that all the planets and most of the asteroids are on one side of this chart. And we have Ceres here. She's in Gemini. She'll be in Gene Key 20, which is about presence. And we have Hygeia here. She's a healing goddess, and she's actually in Gene Key 1, line 1. So that feels like a new spark of yang healing energy happening on this special day. So this is all really interesting as well, from if we look at all of this in the human design chart. So I'm going to invite Katreni in now. I'm going to stop chattering and invite you in, Katreni, to see what's happening from that point of view.
Thank you, Alison. Hello, everyone. I love what you said about Vesta. I think she would be of help for sure for us in those intense adrenal gates, and that we are in this kind of hemisphere where all the celestial bodies are on one side, so it's really intense and it's like a purgatory going on. And I mean, we've been in it for a while with the Venus retrograde and and Pluto shifting into the 16, to the gate of limitation, really like squeezing us into form and allowing us to see what's already is like decomposing there and what doesn't work within us, but also on the collective level. And I feel this I don't know, I think it's pretty rare conjunction of Mars and Venus being conjunct for so long, like gate after gate after gate. And that's pretty amazing. And I want to look into the pattern of that. And as usual, I will share, maybe I will start with the chart. I guess I will start with the chart and then we can move into the wheel to see some elements. So we are on the 9th of February, which is today, and we already have Mars and Venus, as we see in the 38th gate. They conjunct in the gate. And this gate is here in the root center, and it's in the channel with 28. It's channel of struggle, design of stubbornness, and it's a mirror of the 3955, which is this emoting, design of emoting, and a mirror of this process of also finding purpose within, but within the spirit. Here 2838 is more on the cold side of it, like fighting for one's purpose, which 38, this is what 38 is about in the context of the mechanics here. And what was really revealing for me at some point in time of my contemplation of the body graph is that this inner fuel, there are fuel gates like 38, 58, 54. These are inner gates, and they're not about externalizing. So all the processes happening here are internal. They're within our body. This is the channels between the splenic center, our splenic consciousness, our body. Again, it's about our body, about our instinct, about our health, about meeting our fears. Those are also called fear gates: fear of failure, fear of not finding a purpose, fear of authority, of tomorrow, of the past, all these existential fears, which then become an anxiety or psychosis. For example, we have this channel activated for quite a while, 6124, channel of awareness, but also it's addiction and psychosis in the shadow level in the gene keys. But on a higher level, it's about aligning acoustically into this gap space, into the contemplation space, and into inspiration, which is all about living and moving within the body. So this is what I wanted to say, first of all, like the basic keynotes of these two gates, like 38, and they will move on the 13th into the 54. 13th, yeah, you can see that Venus will move first, and then Mars will catch her up on the 14th. They will all move into the 54, the marrying maiden, another kind of fuel. And I will just want to say the difference between them, and that for now we are in this 38, and it's an individual gate in the individual channel. So it's about empowerment and being empowered by the process, by the inner process that's happening. This, I'm already kind of playing and mixing those things because Venus and Mars in the gene keys, in the pearl sequence, in the golden path, we know that this is a pathway of intelligence which connects our mental body, where we have like a trauma connected to our values, where Venus sits, conscious Venus, and EQ, our emotional body, which is formed by the age of 14. So it's like 21 and 18 years of old, like, so our inner teenager, our inner adult, adolescent, and this pathway of intelligence and our emotional mental body being conjunct, so to say, in one position by Venus and Mars. So this is an intense process, and it's very intense in these fuels because it's a root fuel. So the 38 is about being empowered with our internal process. It's not about fighting or struggling with something that is outside, or by like struggling with the projections, whatever they are, or struggling with the partners, or struggling with setting the boundaries, which I guess an issue. At least I've been hearing a lot about the boundaries and kind of issues of people with their parents or with their partners. That was very actual during the Venus retrograde. And now when it goes direct, we are repatterning what's empowering for us, what's empowering in our own kind of inner fight for our purpose. We are ready to fight for our inner purpose, but it's an alchemical inner process within our emotional and mental bodies, which are being conjunct in one position. They're being married. They're forced to be balanced, because the whole thing about the intelligence here is that it's not about how smart you are. It's about what are your reactions, how you handle your reactions, your emotional body reactions, your mental body reactions, and what are those patterns, traumatic patterns that have been imprinted when you were 14, your emotional body being formed, or when you were 21, when your mental body being formed, your values, your psychology kind of being patterned. So now I feel like we are being empowered by those two planets to repattern our intelligence and also create our breakthrough. Another name for this pathway is it's a pathway of defense, because we have emotional and mental defense. This is the most hot place in the whole Venus sequence, because our core wound is being projected through these defense patterns. You all know your inner teenager, your inner adolescent who like defends and fights mentally or emotionally with wisdom or inadequacy, or with opinions. And we know that the 18th gate is very active at that age, like correction, being like frustrated with the world and having your own mental opinions and struggles with others regarding that. So this is intellectual and emotional defense. So there is this defense, but what's happening is this repatterning of those defenses, because we are being empowered. We look at it, how it is when I'm empowered by others and by myself, or how it is when I'm disempowered. Do I want to stay with those people and those, like there is a contemplation going on. Do I want to be with those people who are disempowering? Do I want to be with my own inner struggles? Like, do I have to continue struggle with my own shadows, or I can finally kind of change the frequency, go into another frequency regarding my own shadow patterns? Maybe there is some acceptance that needs to go to happen. So there is this balancing of yin and yang, of inner masculine and inner feminine, which are all about those planets. And what I want to say that the process is a challenging process. This is a pathway of challenge. So those of you who are familiar with Golden Path, it's a mirror of our first challenge between the life's work and evolution. So there is, you really have to work, like you really have to put your hands in the dirt and work it out. It's not like you can contemplate forever. It's about, you're going to meet some things and you're going to be challenged. And you accept the challenge or you don't accept the challenge during this month, which is super intense, because Venus and Mars, which are fighting, they're being conjunct, like in a small room where they cannot escape anymore. Conjunction is like you cannot escape anymore. You're same. You realize you're same, and you have to melt and kind of repattern. So there is this, just to finish with the 38, is about individual gate, and it's a process. Individual, they have this process of aloneness. They realize that no one will help them in their struggle. They have to struggle alone, and that's very cute, because finally I'm alone and I can deal with my stuff all by myself, and I can go into my melancholy and my creativity. And another part is very kind of scary, because you have to meet all your demons, right? At 28, you have to realize, oh my God, I have to struggle. No one will come to me to help me out. And here you need to realize that this is your internal process. You don't have to externalize it too much, the struggle with someone. It's about inner process. But then it will be mirrored on the outside, because our intelligence is not, we are not smart in our aloneness. We are intelligent in our interaction. So that will be, I guess, after all those conjunctions will kind of, Mars and Venus will will wave goodbye and heal their wounds after this conjunction. And this is when our intelligence will arrive, as I see it. And 54 is tribal. So it's 38 is about empowering, realizing you have to deal with that alone, and that can be empowering, that could be scary. 54 is tribal, but I've noticed something super important when it arrives, because 54 is this interaction on the mundane plane, but also it's a magical, very non-mundane reality. So the 54 is kind of a conjunction of a mundane reality, ambition, matter, tribal support, but also it's our relationship with the spiritual field. And 54 gate contains the most mystical line of Orl. Position of Orl is 54 in the fourth line. And I want to remind you all, and I want to ask you to remember what happened to you on the 9th, 10th of January, because this is when our Sun and Venus were conjunct in the 54-4. Something at that period of time, it was, as far as I remember, it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, somewhere there. Something happened. It was like a portal opening when something happened in the field. There was a Sun-Venus conjunction in this mystical position in the 54-4, which is called endarkment and enlightenment, which this is a place where the border between the world dissolve and we appear in this non-dual space, which is very mystical. And something was opened up to us at that moment in time, at that period. Maybe it was an intense fight with something that came up that then became a revelation, or maybe there was something with your heart space. Like I personally experienced an opening in my heart, and it was like a field opening in my aura. I was feeling very calm and balanced, and like my mind struggles with the reality, they disappeared for a while when this was Sun-Venus conjunction. And here it comes again. So we have this 54 in Venus again on the 19th, and here it's joined by Mars. So I feel like something gonna happen on the 18th February, something special. Maybe Alison will add, maybe there are some asteroids. And even more here, we have 55, 59 in the Sun Earth, that's big one. So this is an intimacy, the gate of intimacy, gate of victim or like freedom spectrum, dishonesty, transparency. Again, it's our inner process, how much we're dishonest with ourselves, and on the contrary, we cannot be transparent if we are not honest within our own process. This is what 59 is about. It's not even about the other, it's about this transparency, being in one's own body, being and allowing one's unconscious and one's own paradoxical patterns to manifest and to clear them out into transparency. And the 55 is our victimhood, and how we go from the victim into the freedom, and this emotional mutation in tense times that's happening, this vaporizing of the victim state. And all of that would be with this ambition gate of marrying maiden, Mars, Venus conjunct. And there will be this portal again, the mystical line in the 4 Venus. So I think there will be a reverberation from 9th January when it was retrograde, and there is some kind of waving happen together with the Mars for now. And so I just want to say this, another keyword for this is this tribal. So it's about support. We would seek for who are supporting us, who are our allies. Here was the question about empowerment. Did I find my purpose? Are those people with whom I can find my purpose? Are they empowering? Or like, can I deal with this finally alone by myself without engaging with anyone, and deal with my purpose and my empowerment within my mental, emotional body, within myself? And here is about, okay, I understand that transformation is not possible if I don't have support of the tribe. So the question is, who is my tribe? Who are my allies? Is the transformation is possible? Can I transform the past? 32 is a failure. It's physically this channel of transformation deeply connected with the liquid in the body, which stores a memory. So there will be, I feel that there will be a memory of like restoration and vaporizing of liquids and memory in our liquids when Mars Venus will go, because they create the boiling. It's like it's a boiling pot. It's like hot, hot, hot. And I feel like on this fire of Venus, Mars, the 54 will kind of, something happens with the memories, with the patterns that are stored in our memories, with the with the fear of failure in our relationships, in our lifehood. So I feel this is deeply healing. I mean, it's pretty scary, this conjunction, but it's also deeply healing. And finally, it will arrive into 61, like somewhere around already maybe 23rd. We have still conjunction Venus-Mars, but in the 61st, so there will be empowering. So in the end, I arrive in my, like, also it's an individual gate, so it's about empowerment, individual empowerment, inspiration regarding whatever is happening within my partnership with my body, with myself, with the other. It will become more about empowerment rather than anything else, and inspiration or not. So do my relationship bring me, like, is my intelligence based on psychosis, or is my intelligence is based on like inspiration and finding inspiration with my own unique process? And okay, this just kind of, I'm playing with the words and playing by looking at this. I'm a right mind, I'm a receptive mind, so I'm kind of making it up on the way. But it's been a while I've been talking, so I invite Alison to add anything to that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it all just like perfectly describes what's going on, really, because well, you're probably not aware of this, Katreni, but I started a Venus sequence group in my soul tribe on Monday. So it's like not planned to be at this time, but it does feel like it's going to be like really powerful. So it's interesting to get your insights on, you know, that connection with the IQ and EQ, which I hadn't made that connection myself. The other thing I'm thinking is it's interesting that the 54 is the marrying maiden, because that's to do with relationships. So in the ancient I Ching, the marrying maiden was the second wife who was brought in and had to kind of adjust to the existing structure of the family. But Vesta's presence suggests actually that she's there to support us to stay true to our own spiritual path and our own direction, our own purpose, and not get pulled into the kind of codependent relationships, giving up our own spiritual path to support someone else's. So if, just to say something on Vesta, like if you had her in the 7th house or in Libra as an astrologer, what I'd be saying is, whether you're in a relationship or not, your primary thing that really motivates you is the spiritual path, your relationship with your higher self. So yeah, I think that is really going to support us to rewire all the stuff. So as you're talking, my wows about this are like getting even bigger, because I think it is unusual for Mars and Venus to stay together for so long. It's like they're going through the 38, the 54, and the 61. So the exact conjunction begins at 54 line 1 and it ends on 61 line 6 on the 28th of February. So that's quite a stretch where they are. I called it a rumba, actually. They're rumbering together because this is when Venus is at her most slow, like she's traveling really slowly. And also she's at her most brilliant. So it feels like, you know, she is the love goddess taking her time here. she's not going to be rushed. So just the whole, yeah, I don't know how you do astrology. I think you might be similar to me, Katreni, that I tend to feel it in my body. That's so I think it's quite interesting way of, you know, figuring out what's going on through the feeling sense. So yeah, and just to say, like, I realized that on the 19th, when it's the 54 line 4 imprinting, I'm actually going to be doing this curtain singing night for the first time. And I've been practicing with a friend who plays the harmonium, and got another friend coming who plays the guitar. And we're doing all these goddess songs, and we're going to do a goddess fire ceremony. So when I realized it fell on the 54 line 4, I was like, oh wow, perfect timing. And yeah, so yeah, it was a really powerful day, the imprinting, and I did a ceremony online where a number of women contributed different things to it. So it had a kind of synarchic feel about it. You know, I kind of come from a priestess background that was pretty hierarchical in the Kabbalah, and that kind of Dion Fortune lineage, which is really amazing, but it is very hierarchical. And there's a magus, a male magus, female, who lead the whole thing. So for me, it's quite interesting, and this is a Vesta thing, I guess, as well as the priestess, is to be working in a more Aquarian way with these energies. So rather than one person leading, you're kind of having different people weaving and contributing together. Yeah, and I think the new forms of the future, you know, the 60 Pluto is cracking the old vessels, and the new vessels are gonna have a more balanced, hopefully, Mars Venus energy about them. Excuse my dog, by the way. You can probably hear I caught him eating a rubber which I've taken off him, and now he's trying to get more of it. Say hello. This is him. He's got OCD.
Okay.
So yeah.
It's Venus-Mars conjunction as well, the longing part and the struggling part.
Yeah. So we've got about 10 minutes left. Shall we say something about the codon rings, or rather, I invite you to say something about the codon rings? And
we can look them on the wheel, I guess, and I really love, because we mentioned also what you've said about the 54, this marrying maiden, and that the spiritual part it takes. It's also kind of squeezed between these two individual gates. And we were talking about Juno also in the previous podcast, and about like Sedna and Ceres, and there is this whole repatterning of the hierarchy, because we know 54 is very hierarchical. It's in the root, and it's right on the bottom of the matter. Like it comes as a second wife, or it comes as a young priestess, and it wants to go to the top. It wants to become the queen, the Miro, the 45. And what I realize, especially with the Gene Keys languaging, is that 54, it starts as this aspiration, and it comes into synergy. So it kind of it transcends the dominance part and hierarchical part, and it goes on the material way, but it goes on a higher frequency, being empowered by these two individual gates. It goes into the synergy and communion. which is very paradoxical for a hierarchical mind, for hierarchical structures. But on the high frequency, hierarchy and dominance and control and this step-by-step process of climbing is actually about realizing that you've already arrived into the synergy and communion. And so I find there is a slightly different narrative that is arising with the Venus and all these collective things that are repatterning so many things, basically hierarchy within the penta, within the family, but also within the collective and within our individual patterns. I just want to say that all of that is 38, 54, 61. This is the lake, inner lake. So this is the frequency of frustration. So there will be a lot of dealing with different kind of frustration and finding vitality rather than being stuck in the frustration. We reconnect with our unconscious lake, with our deep waters, Venus and Mars, like revealing this underground lake, these dark waters of our unconscious, which we realize as our own vitality rather than something we have to struggle, rather than something like we don't see, and so forth. So transforming frustration into vitality and into bliss, that would be the pattern here. And we know that the 38 is in the ring of humanity. So within the ring of humanity, it's a amino acid called arginine. It's quite a monster in the chemistry, but the ring of humanity, this is powerful because we have 25 and 51, which is a channel of initiation. They're going to be a shock. So the moment we touch any of those gates, there is an initiation that's happening because it's in one codon ring of humanity, which is about realizing that, wounded from the outset, 25, you must do battle with your shadow, 38, to overcome the limitation of your mind, 17, surrender your need to control life, 21, and find your true self, 10, before you can awaken, 51. So this is, you can check it out in the Living Library. So this is what it's about. And we have the 54, which is in the ring of seeking. You seek and think, you seek how to climb the hierarchy, you seek yourself, you seek your spiritual path, you seek whatever, how to deal with your fears, your purpose, your own authority. But actually the secret of the ring of seeking is that you should finally stop seeking, and you should put your root chakra and stop, put your root chakra in place and find the inner movement of energy within yourself as a process of individuation or chemical process. So you begin to stop seeking. Finally, you go from the outside seeking. There is a moment of going inside, and you start to seek inside, and finally the seeking ceases, and the pressure within you falls away. The vital energy becomes clearer and more radiant within you. So to understand the secret of the 54, you can look at all of that. And then the Venus and Mars moves into 61, which we are all familiar with because it's a ring of Gaia. We've been just through all of these gates we've been through when the sun was transiting it on the wheel. 38 was New Year, actually, and then the Rave New Year in the 41. So we've been through all of these energies already. We are very familiar. Those were pretty dark places, which we arrived in the 19th in the end and get initiated. This was the ending of the quarter of mutation. We are now, by the way, in the 49 revolution. We are in the new quarter. We are in the new element of fire. But what 49 does, and that's why also I think we're doing this podcast, is that 49 with this element of lake, it's revisiting all the frustration that wasn't cleared out here and burns it. Same happens with the 38, it's burning of frustration. 54 is about awakening to vitality, and 61 is realizing and connecting with your intuition. So that's basically the process, burning what needs to be burned, being awakened to your own vitality, and like ability to transform. And when this happens, initiation happens, your intuition of higher self basically dawns to you. And so 60, 61, and 19 is this beautiful trinity of the ring of Gaia. We can see it here. And this is where Mars and Venus arrive. And Pluto is in 60. So ring of Gaia is about, we've been talking about it on the previous podcast, so you should rewatch that. It's about inner truth. It's about sacrificing your lower self and finding a new form. What I just found out, what I looked at, that this bundle, you can see ring of seeking, ring of humanity is connecting to the ring of matter, which is very important because ring of matter actually guides our process in EQ, IQ, and SQ, because that's the patterns of our 7-year cycles from 0 to 7, from 7 to 14, from 14 to 21. So the ring of matter participates in this trinity of our lower bodies, physical, emotional, mental, and their 7-year cycles to which they're connected. First 7 years, it's physical, it's governed by the 48. Then we have emotional body, by the 46. This is the first 7-year cycles, and then emotional body by the 48, and then the mental body by the 18, and all of it, underneath all of it, before the core wound, it's 57, which kind of manages a building of the body and trimesters while we're in the belly. So this is the ring of matter is kind of present in this IQ, EQ by the 48 especially, and the 18, this kind of couple. And the 61 is curious because it's elements of lake and wind. And the elements of wind and lake, which is the mirror, and you cannot find it in the mechanics of the design, is a gate 28. So it's purpose, like we start with the 38, and 38 and 28 are in one channel. And 28 is very also initiating us into our purpose. And when we arrive at the 61, we always have the mirror of the elements on the background with the 28. So I find this kind of connection through the ring of Gaia into this elements of the inner intuition wind here, which is connected to relationships as well, because this quarter is a quarter of duality of relationships. You can see here is Libra, right? And also I want to just show that the 60 is the mirror element of the 47. So the form and limitation always connected to oppression. And the 19, the earth and the lake, where is it? Is the 46, it's actually the, it's here, it's the 45, which 54 is struggle. So there is this connection of the elements within those codon rings, and inner logic, like oppression and limitation, are connected, and we can transfigure and find realism and find the form. And 61 is connected to the purpose. And so I think that's more personal contemplation if you want to see the elements and kind of read the keys during these transitions of Mars, Venus, and find support and empowerment within those. I guess this is it. Maybe Alison, you would polish this one for us.
Yeah, no, it feels like that brings everything to a natural conclusion, and I'm just like so wowed by it all, you know, when you see the intelligence unfolding and how it's all repatterning us. Yeah, it just fills my heart with fire and hope for the future. So So thank you, Katreni. It's been lovely spending this hour with you.
Yes.
And yeah, so we will have our next podcast together when something takes us and brings us inspiration. But thank you all for watching, and please share with your human design astrology friends as well. So namaste, aho,
Beautiful. Thank you.
bye.